very digestible. So, I mean, the primary thing that we wanted to just kind of give users notice about was that we are working on a proposal for the Arbitrum DAO. Uh, Gal, I know you're having some technical difficulties. This is not a problem. Don't worry about it. We'll do it at some other point. Um, but yeah, so essentially we're going to apply for an Arbitrum grant, and we're aiming for around 1.5 million Arbitrum tokens. We think that this makes sense because if you look at the comparables of people that received the airdrop earlier, we were actually excluded because our launch date was literally 1 day off of the cutoff date. But if we had received it, we would be placing right around 1.5 million, which is what we're going to ask for. And also, I do have some comparables. Like Radiant received 3.3 million, Vesta received 2.7. Abracadabra received 900,000. So with our TVL, it places us comfortably at 1.5 million. We think that it will fly through the Arbitrum DAO, especially because we want to put a large emphasis on the native Arbitrum projects. Welcome, guys. Welcome. You guys just joined. We're talking kind of about our plan to hit the Arbitrum grants with a 1.5 million ARB request. So yeah, the comparables are there, and then we want to really structure it in a way that we target the majority of the incentives towards the large caps, so like the Arbitrum token, wrap staked ETH, wrap BTC, put a large number of incentives there using the grant, and then also put a huge emphasis on the Arbitrum native projects. And this is something that we really, I mean, Silo makes so much sense for an Arbitrum grant because if you look at the top five lending projects, right, I think we're number five right now. The number one, two, three, and four projects are all shared pools, and they all basically just provide liquidity for uh, either wrap BTC, wrap staked ETH, essentially just what you see on every chain. But when you come to Silo, you see that we have like vibrant markets for literally RDPX, DPX, Arbitrum. We were the first to move on the Arbitrum token, uh, which we have the first mover advantage there. We have GNS, we have just so many markets that no other lending market can even touch. And for that reason, we're in a very strong position to negotiate a grant. Um, so yeah, that's more or less our plan. Bojangles, I know you just missed it, but essentially 1.5 million ARB is what we want to ask for. And if you guys have any questions kind of regarding that or what our approach is going to be, go for it. Oh, Gal, I hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I fix it. Sorry. So I'll wait.
No worries. Cupid, I think, is typing in a question. Are there any plans to be on Polygon ZK EVM? We are, I mean, we're working on V2, and then V2 will kind of allow us to launch in many other different places. But the Polygon team in general, at least Jack, I know him well, and they're very cool. We've already spoken to them, so yes, I would say that that's in the future plans. Um, but yeah, yeah, that's good. That should be good. But yeah, Arbitrum grant. I think everyone's clear on that. Or follow up. Let's see it. When is native staking coming to Silo? So we have our V2. With that comes the VE model. So the VE model, a single asset staking. You mean just like deposit Silo? I mean, technically, we do have a Silo, which you can use to leverage. Um, as far as like single asset staking, we're really leaning more towards using like the balancer VE model, where there's an 80/20 pool token that's used as the main governance token rather than the just raw token. That tends to align interests better because being the liquidity provider and also the emissions minter makes a lot of sense that you would only want to direct your emissions towards something that would bring back value. Um, but yeah, if that answers your question, we're really planning to go more for an 80/20 approach for the VE token. But yeah, you're always welcome to use the silo as well. And we have discussed, we could technically stream some form of incentives to the silo side, just outright incentives to deposits. And perhaps we can do that with a small part of the Arbitrum grant, although we really want to focus it on growing these huge Arbitrum native markets. We think it's a great opportunity, but I don't see a problem with us putting some form of incentives just on silo deposits in the silo market. Yeah, and so we've got a few more updates, and maybe we can touch upon the ARB grant again later on the call. But we do have Gal on here with us. Gal is from Hypernative, and Hypernative builds the security tool. It's like a before it happens type of tool that just reads transactions that are fishy. And really, they wanted to come on and demo and pitch the DAO and see like what you guys think of it, and if that's something we should use. So, I mean, Gal, if you want to hop in here.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you for the time first, and great meeting you all. So I'll give you a brief introduction about myself, about Hypernative and what we do. So I'm coming from traditional cybersecurity background and cloud infrastructure. Was at a big organization, sold also my last company to IBM, and then decided um, to come more to the space. And myself and my co-founder, which actually introduced me to crypto and Web3, we started Hypernative early last year, where where the idea of Hypernative is not just security, it's essentially create an end-to-end security and risk mitigation for crypto and Web3 projects, where what we are doing, the first part, which is the critical part that we started, was hex and exploit, essentially help projects, chains, bridge providers, and asset managers and investors essentially detect security hacks and exploit before they happen. We have today a very good track record in that. We were involved in all the big hacks and exploit that happened, like in Euler Finance. There was an article about us that in Euler Finance, my co-founder was actually at their Discord before most of the funds were stolen, and we were in all the big hacks and exploit that happened in the last few months, and mentioned in a lot of postmortem. By the way, that we do it is we analyze, we are very accurately able to detect attacker symptoms, like what we found out that before an attack, and it doesn't matter what's the vector of an attack, it could be a code bug, it could be an Oracle manipulation, it could be private key theft even. There are some signs of an attacker doing a preparation or doing all sorts of things like deploying a smart contract, which is the attack code, doing it through a governance proposal, which is a big attack vector as well, and various other vectors. And we are able to detect just like some statistics from September last year. I think the platform hasn't missed a hack, at least that we know of, and it has detected 99% of the hex and exploit 2 minutes and more before the first hack transaction. With some of the protocols that we work, and I can show you, by the way, the platform in a second, but with some protocols and chains that we work, we also connect these detections to automated preventive workflows. So some of them add us as a multi-sig role that can just, for example, pause or blacklist a specific address, again, depending depending on the protocol. I think that's less relevant from what I heard to Silo, like your preventive measures or the capabilities to do a prevention are limited. What we also do today is we monitor around 200 risk types that are also related to market risk, and we also help protocols expose some of these alerts to their community. So, for example, if you want to create liquidation alerts or any other alerts and let any user basically register your specific position in the protocol, you can do that with Hypernative and use Hypernative as the infrastructure, and you can create the front end and enable that for your community. We are also one of the big attack vectors today on protocols is governance, on-chain governance proposal. What we work with some protocols is essentially join and be part of the multisig that approve the governance proposal, where the idea is that Hypernative, and I'll show you an example of a hack that we solved with that. But the idea is that Hypernative essentially managed to automatically scan every governance proposal and provide some feedback either to the community or to the voters about the suspiciousness or the risk score of the proposal, because again, proposal has a description but it has a code, and sometimes, right, it's a way to inject changes that you don't really expect, and you really want to examine every proposal in an automated manner, and this is what we do. So I can show you the system. Are there any questions before we go, or?
I have a bit of a question, just because you mentioned this briefly, right? We as a DAO, we don't have like a multi-sig that executes. We have a time lock controller, so that can kind of limit the time to response. I think our time lock is at the least 2 days. Um, so if you could touch maybe briefly on that while you're going through the demo, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the time lock is actually great because it means that we have 2 days to really examine, right, the proposal itself and understand that there are, again, the idea is also react to things that are like an attack. But a lot of times, again, you want to make sure that the proposal in an automated manner meets specific criteria and checks, right? Like maybe you want to even create a check and like testing on every code change proposal and see that the simulation of the outcome of these checks. So you can very easily do and model these checks in Hypernative, and I think that's what we found out. That's a good input for the protocols that use us. So I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So this is the platform, and this is, by the way, we are working on the UI a bit. It's going to change because we've actually modeled specific risk, what we call playbooks. In the end, we cover like security is of course the core and the primary thing that we are doing, but this platform can detect all sorts of risk. I can show you from 5 different categories. So like we have security, we have technical around multi-sig changes, ownership changes, contract upgrades, things like that, chain risks, like reorgs and things like that. We have financial risk that could be either generic financial risk about tokens, and these could be right relevant, maybe not just tracking silo contracts, but also tracking the tokens that are part of the collateral inside the silos, either for the protocol itself or for the community. So we have here different kind of, from depegging, liquidation, floor rate, health factor, pool compositions alert, bridge security, by the way, is a big use case for us, Oracle and price deviations. that we monitor. So a very big generic large money movements, things like that. On the financial, on the governance, it's mostly, and I'm going to show you an example, so I'll touch, but we analyze every on-chain governance proposal, and we detect suspiciousness in the proposal. And we help you also create your own kind of testing on top of that if you want to add. We also have something called community. Community is mostly like phishing, scamming, fraud campaigns. So someone is creating a token or an approval for a EOA with your token, or some other phishing or scamming that we detect through analyzing bytecode of smart contract. We are able to warn the community or the protocol team on these as they are deployed on chain, again in an automated manner. Uh, and again, I think one of the nice thing about this platform, I'll show you in a second, is that we have what we call costume agents, which you can again expose to the community itself. So you can let users create their own specific costume alerting on the protocol and get these replies back into email or social media, like either Telegram, Discord channel, or webhook through API. So usually, like a, a customer in for Hypernative will create what we call a watch list, which a watch list is a list of assets that you want to monitor, and this could be any smart contract, multisig or wallet address, token, bridge, Oracle specific protocol for the core contracts, bridges that you want to monitor. So anything that you want to monitor, most likely you will add as the protocol, you'll add your contracts, your protocol contracts. But of course, again, as I mentioned, this tool can also be leveraged by silos to monitor and detect risks in other tokens that are used as a collateral in the protocol or in the silos, and get these alerts either for the protocol team or for the community. And this example is Audios Web3 music platform that got hacked last year. And what we do is we start after you've added the contract addresses and the things that you want to monitor. We start. We have out of the box risks that we cover in all of these categories. So I'm just. One second, sorry. So we have, as I mentioned, so you just need to add the contracts, and we monitor everything that's happening on chain. So from all the transaction, all the contracts creations, all the governance proposal, all the traces. We also augment it with some off-chain data that we bring. So regardless of what you're looking or not, we're doing that. But once you added the contracts and assets that you care about, we provide you these out-of-the-box risk, like again 200 risks that we cover. And in this example, this is the Audios case. If you heard about it, Audios last year on July, it was audited by Open Zeppelin and Kudensky, and then a few months later got hacked. It actually got hacked through a governance proposal to some bug in the initialization code. And this is the actual proposal that is a suspicious proposal. It's maybe I'll even show it to you here. This is what Hypernative managed to see, is that this transfer 6 million, which are 99% of the token in the protocol treasury. This is the proposal, and this is the actual hack itself. Like this is the actual hack transaction, which happened on 11/10/12, and we identify, like we simulate every on-chain proposal. We give you a lot of context to basically investigate it. The interesting part that I wanted to show you in this case is that around 17 minutes before that actual hack and the transfer the funds, Hypernative actually managed to detect that this is a suspicious proposal. So, of course, you could have again reacted in time to that. AudioSteam specifically could have blacklisted this proposal, and if there is, of course, a time lock of 2 days, then that's also something, right? Like that piece of data that can be leveraged by the community.
Very cool. And for just for outside hacks, right? Things that are not to do with proposals where we have kind of a 2 day buffer. What is the approximate time at which Hypernative catches something that that gets executed? Because you mentioned 2 minutes and up, right?
Yeah, so what we found out is that we did a research on all the hacks and exploit, and I'm going to show you here from a protocol that got hacked on May, um, just last month. Jimbo's on Arbitrum. If you heard about it, and $7.5 million was stolen in this hack that happened last month. And again, this is hack by hack. Like, this really depends on the hack itself. What we found out, and we did a very extensive research since September last year, and we also on Ethereum, at least we tested this since Genesis on a backfilling. Like, we ran all the transaction and all the data through the system, and so when it catches different hacks and exploit that happen historically. And what we found out is that 99% of the hacks and exploit could have been detected 2 minutes before the first hack transaction. In this example, it's like 8 minutes. So in Jimbo protocol, if you can see here, if you were the Jimbo team, you would have added these two contracts that you saw there, or maybe more. And then on the 28th, these are the kind of alerts that you would have received, where the alert on 12:24 a.m. UTC is actually the detection of the exploit. This is also the compromised number. There were other like attack transaction after, but as you can see, we identify who the attacker is, like the contract, the wallet, who is the suspected victim, like the specific contract in the protocol that is the victim. Um, and again, the interesting thing here is that if you look at the timestamp, so around 8 minutes before that hack, Hypernative actually in this case, were able to simulate the attack and see that there's someone is going to trigger an alert, an attack, and it's going to trigger that on Jimbo protocol. We also have other detections, as you can see, the unusual contract. So what we notice is a lot of attacks are happening when the attacker deploy an attack code, like a smart contract that is doing the attack. We essentially monitor and scan every smart contract that is deployed on chain today, and are able to classify that with a machine learning based model, very similar from malware detection things that we have done previously for Microsoft. For example, is this an attack code? And if this is an attack code, then who is it going to attack? So this is one vector that we are looking. Others include mempool and other, like all sorts of other vectors that we do.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I think the next steps would be kind of to showcase what we could do with Silo specifically and maybe put it down in our proposal in our governance. Um, but yeah,
Sounds good. Sounds good. To me, again, this is more than just a security tool. I think there are many different aspects of market and financial risk that might be leveraged. And again, I would love to have this as a tool for the community to use.
absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to have it. And yeah, I think we can kind of keep talking about this. And yeah, I see definitely the value there.
Thank you. And again, I'm here if anyone has any questions or things also offline. Please feel free to message me.
Yes, sir. All right, yeah, and Paul, you had yeah, he just asking for your socials, but passed it over to them. All right, yeah, thank you so much, Gal. We're gonna move on with the regular updates right now, and then I'll follow up with you after the call.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All righty, folks. So for those that weren't in here, I'm gonna touch on the ARB grant again after I just run through some quick updates. So anyway, first we had a UI update. We now have liquidation price available in the UI. We wrote a brief article on it and put it in the Silopedia, and we put out also some threads around that. So if anyone is, I know a lot of people were asking for that feature, so that is now live. Essentially, every asset that you're using within a market will give you a liquidation price, and that's the price at which you will get liquidated if the other assets don't also move in price. Um, and then we had some notable deposits that we highlighted this week. Plutus DAO, they actually deposited a while ago, but we just put out kind of a thread on it. They've put their whole ARB allocation inside of Silo. And so they've put around 200,000 Arbitrum tokens, which is a great trust signal from them. And they're very excited to kind of work on more stuff together. So I'll leave it at that. Another notable deposit that we haven't highlighted yet, but we'll be talking about in the coming weeks, is Sphere DAO. Sphere DAO essentially is taking their treasury and they are putting it to work in Silo. They execute a pretty interesting strategy. They essentially deposit FXS, they borrow Xi, and they deposit Xi in the Aura market, borrow out Aura, and then they vote lock that Aura for rewards. So it's a pretty unique use case, and it has pretty high yields. So pretty cool stuff. We have a lot of more DAOs that are very interested, and I think we're starting to take more of a direction into the DAO to DAO and approaching more funds and just larger whales in general. We've kind of made it past the mid-sized phase, right? The next kind of TVL level that we got to get to is 100 million on Arbitrum. Um, so we're excited for that. We had new markets. Y2K was coming on. It's live now, and the Y2K guys are very cool. We've been talking to them for a while. They're also part of the redacted folks. Um, so good stuff there. Silo, I would say has been an overall success. We see that like we're maintaining pretty high rates on USDC, which generates revenue for the DAO, and we're doing it with no incentives at this moment. So um, very cool. And then another thing, we did get a small grant from the DIA guys to support building more oracles, and we're actually working not just with DIA, but with DIA and outside protocols to get them to also get this grant, essentially to set up DIA price feeds, and then we can set up markets for them with basically no custom effort on the Oracle side. So if you have any project that maybe doesn't have enough DEX liquidity on Uniswap v3 to support an Oracle, and but that does have it somewhere else that you don't think we can support, but DIA can likely support it, and we can likely get their costs covered for more than a few months for the Oracle if they want to get listed on Silo. This is purely for Arbitrum. DIA on Ethereum is going to be much different because it's the gas costs are higher, so it's going to be a much bigger expense for people. But for any Arbitrum projects, we can bring them on very quickly. We're just working on some liquidation side issues, but we have probably like 4 or 5 new markets that we can list, and we're speaking with teams. Um, and yeah, and then also treasury update. I'm going to share this with you guys right here. Oh, let me find it. Where the heck? Oh, well, actually, I think Aham put it in announcements. No. cool. Yeah, here we go. I'm putting it in the chat right here. Oh, Gal, I believe we have some questions for you as well on the side if you want to answer them, or you can answer them in the chat. It's all good. Um, but yeah, I just posted in the stage chat. Essentially, this is a snapshot of where our treasury is sitting at. We have around $23 million sitting in the Dow treasury, so we're very healthy. We're doing. I would say we probably have one of the largest treasuries across all DeFi protocols. So we are positioned very, very well for a bear market, and it's not even looking too much like a bear market anymore. So uh, it's been good. We've got of that 23 million, only 10 million of that is Silo tokens. So we are very well diversified. Lots of USDC, lots of ETH. Um, very, very good. And now let's just, I'm going to circle back to the ARB grant because I know a lot of you weren't here when I started off. But essentially, we are aiming for a 1.5 million ARB token grant. And the reason we're going for this is a comparable amount to what other lending protocols at our TVL received. If you're looking at Radiant, they received 3.3 million. Vesta received 2.7 million. Abracadabra received 900,000. Lodestar received somewhere around 1 million. Oh no, Lodestar didn't actually. They got cut out as well. Um, but anyway, we're going to be aiming for 1.5 million. Big focus is going to be on Arbitrum native projects and obviously the ARB token itself. But we are essentially dividing it between Arbitrum native projects and then what we call mega caps, which would be like Arbitrum token, wrap staked ETH, wrap BTC. And then we are creating a third category for outside integrations. So this would be kind of like a sub grant, and we would grant this to things like Factor, who's building vaults on us, or Centra, or there's a few protocols that are working with us. So maybe so we can support them a little bit more and provide some incentives with these ARB grants. So that's exciting. Uh, and also on the topic, since I just brought it up, for Factor DAO, the Factor DAO guys have been tirelessly working. Essentially, if you're not aware, they kind of create these modular vaults. So we're starting out with some initial use cases, but with the infrastructure they've built, it's kind of like Legos, and we can build basically any strategy using their infra. Um, so that should be coming next week. And we'll also be hopping on spaces with them. Um, but yeah, let's see. Any questions on the Arbitrum grant? And something we do plan to do with this grant is we do. I mean, we don't just. It's not just for the grant. Honestly, we think that Arbitrum has just been superior in terms of like user acquisition. Um, but yeah, we're gonna say essentially, we will essentially launch the V2 protocol on Arbitrum initially, uh, and so they'll have kind of like a first mover advantage over Silo V2. And we're going to pledge to build cross chain voting, so we can have users on Ethereum and on Arbitrum voting on gauges and whatnot, which is cool. And yeah, I mean, I think that's what I have. If anyone, let me go through the questions that I believe Silo Milo, oh no, it was New Order. Okay, so some cues. Is there a new bug bounty for for Silo original code and Curve LP code? It's not a new bug bounty, but I believe we updated part of our bounty to include the new router, which includes the Curve LP tokens. Again, we've seen huge value in that bug bounty. The Kakondu was a phenomenal at helping us with that. Um, and yeah, is there an ETA on V2 or V Silo? They will come together, but I do not have an ETA. uh, and I've been told to stop hinting at it because I'll be, put on a spike. Um, when is the JPEG silo expected to go live? Monday. So Monday, the JPEG silo will be live, and we have also a proposal on the JPEG side for them to provide some XI to the pool. And obviously, we've already got a very willing borrower that you guys can probably figure out. The Pepe silo didn't see much activity. Any idea why this was? I mean, honestly, we're speaking a lot with the Pepe guys, but it's just it didn't work out. I think it was just no one really wants to provide liquidity, especially lending liquidity for an asset that is you know a shit coin. So it possibly has a lot of people are scared of an exit from a large whale. Um, and those things. But yeah, I mean, we definitely have people with Pepe that are willing to borrow. We just, no one that really wants to provide the bridge side for that asset in particular. Um, so I would say that that's probably the reason why. Will Silo launch on mainnet? We certainly can. I think it's fairly low lift for us. I don't know that we'd have to see if you guys have really much interest in it versus Arbitrum, but we can certainly do it. We just figured that the majority of our user base is, priced out of gas and mainnet for the most part. That's why we went with Arbitrum, and the fact that there is like more of a vibrant USDC yield seeking community on Arbitrum. So you can see like we have multiple people depositing USDC inside that silo, um, and that's because it just there's more eyes on it. Is more marketing plan for Curve LP lending silos? What has been the general industry from the feedback so far on it? So we have more marketing planned. I've just finished lining up basically 4 or 5 KOLs who are very cool and they're very interested in learning. And uh, you'll see that basically we're gonna keep the constant stream of marketing, maybe like 1 to 2 influencers a week. Um, and yeah, and that's been our general philosophy with uh, with those things. But yeah, and then also we have a lot of free marketing that we get from certain influencers and also just people that like us. Um, so we're leveraging that some more. Um, but yeah, there will be more marketing. I'm not sure that we'll focus it so much on the Curve LP lending side. I think that the general feedback has been that it's great. It's just that probably we don't have the right pools, and we're working on maybe enabling some Curve LP lending markets for the kind of up and coming hot assets. So Curve USD pairs have been on top of the mind. We're just kind of figuring that out because obviously Curve USD doesn't have a Chainlink price feed, but it does have a different feed from the new feeds that Curve has kind of created with the new NG pools. Um, so yeah, we're looking at the feasibility. Actually, today there's an engineer looking at it. Um, so I'll have more on that soon. How do you feel the second round of incentives is going so far? I think it's going great. In terms of like our ratio of incentives to interest rates, I think we're doing phenomenally. The interest rates tend to outpace the rewards, which is a incredible thing. You don't see that really anywhere else on DeFi. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the silos, the incentives are actually making money for us, which is fantastic. Um, but yeah, I think especially with the one-to-one match that we've done with teams, right? We're not actually paying for all of the incentives. We're only paying for half of them because the other teams have gracefully provided their own tokens. Um, so yeah, I think incentives have been a huge success. And we do have some proposals also live. But Silo on Arbitrum is a non-interest asset at the moment. Would that change in the near future? Could you clarify that? A non-interest asset? Oh, you mean like it cannot be borrowed? Yeah. So I mean, we can enable, so we can enable it for borrowing. We could put some in there for borrowing. Uh, we just didn't want really any shorts. And yeah, and I mean it kind of limits the TVL if we if we turned it on right now, like borrowing of silo. There's too much silo in there for us to have a safe market. So this is just kind of in the name of safety, and especially because it's our own token, right? Like if something goes wrong with that silo, like that will be a terrible PR disaster for us. So we're just keeping it kind of very safe in there. Sir. Um, so we have some proposals coming up. I think on Tally it just went live. We have some Xi burning and minting. Essentially, we're burning Xi where it's not used from the Frax silo and from partially from the Geom silo to raise interest rates a little bit. And then we are minting it to Curve. We have our wonderful Mitch inside of the Curve pool. And we provided basically around 500,000 of our market making funds to it. So there are basically a lot of our money is tied up there. So we're going to try to just mint it there, and then we can pull out the DAO deposit. I'll wait for the question. Oh, awesome. All right, yeah, and then we have an update on interest rates for Bridge USDC on Arbitrum. Essentially, what we're doing there is we are changing rates not quite to what the silo is, but lower, but this should kind of keep more liquidity in there at the rates we like. We have kind of a problem right now that we have multiple silos that go right to critical utilization. And the way our interest rate model works is as soon as someone pushes it over that, rates start to climb and spike really hard. We would like to adjust it so that the rates that make sense for people are further away from the critical point. And this way also there'll just be more available USDC for kind of larger lenders. Um, so yeah, I think that'll be good. We're going to update it across majority of silos actually. Um, but they shouldn't change rates too drastically, really, on in any of them. Awesome, and I think that's basically what I have. Does anyone have any questions on the ARB grant, on our, our recent proposals, the Xi credit line burning and minting, the interest rates, open floor? Any questions? Any thoughts? Uh, any things you think we should do? We are open to all. Alrighty. Oh, where could we learn more about VE Silo? We're keeping information hush hush. Uh, I think you would have to probably go back through our proposal chats and really find the information. There is some information out there, but it's not anywhere like formalized. I think we speak about it sometimes in the general chat when people push it out of me. But for the most part, it's a secret, or you gotta dig through. Oh my gosh, my voice keeps cracking. Come on, give us something. Oh man, no, I've given enough. Now you gotta find it. uh, What about timeline? Again, I can't say about timeline, but even like we do have an idea of the timeline. It's just not something we want to share at this moment because if it gets pushed back, and we had this kind of experience with Curve LPs where auditing takes forever, and then when they have like one little response here, you have to respond back, and it's a very formal process. And not to mention, we have to do the rule writing for all the code that we write because we use the Certora solver in the formal verification. So it's not so much like when will the protocol be done. It's more of like when will all of the security checks be in place for us to really launch it with confidence. Um, so that's really the only reason we don't give timelines is because we don't know. We know when the core protocol will probably be done. We don't know when we'll be done writing the security stuff. The security stuff takes like almost as much time sometimes. Awesome. Yeah, no problem. Sorry I couldn't be of more help, Wenzo. And if that's all we got, oh, we got given Hodan. Okay, yeah, no, that's just the general chat. Cool. Uh, Thank you guys for listening. I've recorded this and I'll upload it on YouTube, so that'll be up shortly. If anyone wants to go back and kind of listen to what I said in the beginning about the Arbitrum grant, although I think I basically caught you guys up. Um, but if you have any more questions regarding it and you have any thoughts, please let us know. So thank you guys. I'll turn on the music now and deafen myself. All right, they're gone. Now I'm going to share the real alpha. No, just kidding. All right, goodbye, guys.